Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Apples and Ginos Fantasy Hockey Podcast, the podcast you come to when you're finally ready to take fantasy hockey seriously. My name is Groot Nibbelink. I'm the creator of Apples and Ginos, originator of the Zero G Draft Strategy. In this podcast, I'm going to bring you Blake and I's hottest takes for the 2025-26 season and dig in a little on the streaming setup for week one of the fantasy season. Let's get it. Welcome on in. Fantasy hockey is just around the corner. It is hockey season, isn't it? I just had my first beer league game of the year. 3 shots on goal, rang one off the post. What can you do? Crossbar, actually. But I went the wrong way afterwards. It's a good time to be getting into some hockey in any respect, but I want to get into a little bit of the news that we've got going on around the league. There's a lot of stuff happening, and it can be pretty hard to keep on top of everything. So I'm going to try to speed run through a whole bunch of news that we've got going on around the league that you might not have heard on a previous episode or just out there in the wild. So Zach Benson banged up. He has been on line one with Tage Thompson for pretty much the entire preseason up till now. With him out of the lineup, it's been Jack Quinn. So that's an interesting point to note that Jack Quinn could be elevated up the lineup if Zach Benson is out. I think that Benson will be okay, but something to monitor there for sure. In Buffalo as well, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is banged up again, considered week to week. Alex Lyon, if UPL was rostered in your league, Alex Lyon should now be rostered in your league. I had UPL in my Banger Scats league, and I went and grabbed myself some Alex Lyon. Just pick up those starts if that's what you were going for in the first place. Alex Vlasic is hurting, may not play the first game against Florida. That would be a pretty huge blow to Chicago's defense. If you go look at that depth chart right now, it does not look too hot, especially in terms of how they might play in the defensive zone. So anyone rostering Spencer Knight without Alex Vlasic potentially against Florida, good luck. Pavel Dorofeyev is back skating. Interesting stuff going on the power play here. Bruce Cassidy has been putting Marner at the point and Shea Theodore in the right circle. To me, that opens a door for Dorofeyev to potentially bump Theodore at some point, and Cassidy kind of said as much that they might experiment with that at some point. So that's definitely something to watch. Dorofeyev has kind of fallen. He was a big, hypey sleeper for everyone, and he's fallen for me too. Basically because of this preseason injury that's kept him from, trying to get into some of these power play deployments and get himself further up the lineup. Still think Dorofeyev has all the potential in the world, and he can probably be worth a roster spot even without top power play. But if he gets it, we could be looking at a guy who scores at a 40-goal pace. Anton Lundell is day-to-day, but it does seem likely that he's going to play in the opener still, so I'm not reacting too much to that news. Stefan Noesen is back on the ice. That has to mean good things for his potential to return to the Devils lineup, although Sheldon Keefe did have a quote where he said that he's not close, which would indicate to me that it's probably not for game one, so something to look at there, but Stefan Noesen, top power play, very possible right away again. JT Miller is back at practice after suffering what looked like a pretty scary injury that was caught on videotape as well. Is in a non-contact sweater for now, but probably trending towards playing game one. Something to monitor, but it's a good sign at least. Artemi Panarin, though, picked up a new upper body injury, skated on his own before practice, now in doubt for the opener. So again, monitor that one as well. Victor Hedman and Brandon Hagel were causing their fantasy managers some concern. John Cooper said today, so far everyone is tracking to play in the Lightning first game on Thursday next week, so it doesn't seem like there's any internal concern that these guys won't be ready. And talking about Logan Cooley, he has been out for a lot of the preseason here, but he will be ready. It was confirmed he will be ready for the first game of the season for Utah. It's probably a situation where he's not going to get on power play 1 right away. They were working him on the second unit before he got this injury, so I expect power play 2 to start, but we're obviously still very high on Logan Cooley. More on that later. Brian Rust is expected to miss at least 2 weeks with a lower body injury, a lowy body injury, as they're known around these parts. Tough start for the Penguins right off the top, as a guy they can ill afford to lose is out and injured to start the season. At least 2 weeks is the prognosis there, but definitely it opens the door for a guy like Ville Koivunen to be on the top power play and the top line currently with Sidney Crosby. K'Andre Miller and Jacob Slavin are back at practice for Carolina, will almost certainly play in the Canes opener. It's not really fantasy relevant necessarily, except for the fact that it's a huge quality of life boost for everybody on the Canes if those two guys are in the lineup and playing, especially at 5v5. Dean Evison was quoted as saying that he hasn't decided if Jet Greaves or Elvis Merzlikins will start game 1. That's exciting for people who have some belief in Jet Greaves like myself, so I'm just going to take that as a little bit more of a feather in the cap for Greaves. It sounds like Merzlikins will start the game on Saturday here, so we'll see how that goes, and that may just decide who gets game 1. Kromarchenko is banged up in Columbus there, but nothing serious. Sounds like his status is not in doubt for the opener. And Mackenzie Blackwood, this is one where the status is in doubt. He's working back, is on the ice, had a lower body injury, not certain to play game 1. I'll have to keep monitoring what's going on there. Jake Wallman, on the other hand, in Edmonton, will be ready for opening night. Not worried, that is confirmed. Jonas Brodin is live to play in game 1, but it sounds like at least mid-month is the wording from Coach Jay Hines there in Minnesota. So that kind of has me leaning that won't be right away in the very first game of the season, which would obviously mean potential for Zeev Buium to play a few more minutes and see what he can do. In Montreal, they have a few guys a little bit day-to-day. Noah Dobson is good to go for the opener. Demidov, Goulet, and Bolduc are all listed as day-to-day, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of concern there. I would expect at this point that all of them will be good to go come the season start. Drake Batherson is back in practice, but still not sure there if he will be able to play in game 1. The original timeline given made it seem like he wouldn't, but it's definitely possible. Vince Dunn is day-to-day. Don't really have a better update than that. At this point, I'm expecting him to play in game 1 unless we hear differently. Jared McCann and Brandon Montour are expected to be good to go for the opener. All right, that's as fast as I could get through the newsies there. Before we get into some more stuff here, just a quick note on the fantasy draft guide. If you haven't gotten it already, if you're drafting this weekend, get your hands on the document. And even if you have drafted already, it might be just a good way to read about some of the teams, what we were thinking before the season started here, and what you might want to consider the paths to fantasy relevance for some of these players. A lot of that is in this document. The fantasy draft live stream schedule for us. So we've already had a couple of these come off. My $100 Bangers Cats draft is done. My Tier 1 APL draft is done. I streamed that with Blake there on Thursday evening. Next up, my Tier 1 Cacupful auction draft. This is a beast. It'll be at least 4 hours. We're doing all 18 rounds in Cacupful. October 5th, Sunday at 1:30 p.m. EST if you want to join for that. It will be pretty relaxed. It will not be attempting to speak continuously for 4 straight hours, but you can definitely stop through. It's a pretty relaxed format. It obviously takes a while for each of the players to come off an auction, so definitely get in there. You can ask questions, and I'd be happy to kind of treat it as a bit of a mailbag session as well, where people can stop through and ask any fantasy questions, and I'd be happy to help out. And then Blake is going to live stream the Fantasy Puck Content Creators Draft on October 6th, Monday at 7 p.m. EST. And that's one that I'm also drafting in, but I have a prior engagement at 8 p.m., so I'm not sure how long the draft will go. And I will potentially be finishing that draft on my phone, so I didn't want to be on stream and then just dip. So Blake's going to handle that one for you all. All right, week one strategy. And there's not much to say here. Not much of a chance to stream. There's only 38 total games played. Very late week in that regard. Friday has 0 games, so the week goes no games on the Monday, but Tuesday is where we start to have games. 3 games on the Tuesday, 4 games on the Wednesday. Then Thursday is 14 games, so very heavy slate there. Friday has 0 games. Saturday has 16 games, and Sunday only has 1 game. So it's really tough to stream in this week. Basically, there are 3 teams that have off nights: Los Angeles, the New York Rangers, and the Washington Capitals. LA has the best schedule because they are going on Tuesday and Wednesday back to back, so you can kind of get those players in immediately, and that's really the best you're going to be able to do, and then kind of drop them off your lineup after that. The Rangers and the Capitals are the 2 teams playing on Sunday, the only 2 teams playing on Sunday. The Rangers also have an off night on the Tuesday, the first game of the season, or the first day of the season, I should say, and the Capitals have their other off night on the Wednesday. So you can look at those teams. You can also, because you're probably going to have 4 ads or whatever your league has, but you're probably going to have multiple ads and it's going to be kind of hard to use them. You can also do 2 one-game streams. So you could look at any of the teams that are playing on the Tuesday off night to start the season. So again, that's Chicago, New York Rangers, LA Kings, Colorado, Florida, and Pittsburgh. And then you could transition over on the Wednesday, drop that player for a Wednesday streamer from Washington. Washington would also have that Sunday off night, so that's a nice one. Like LA also has the Wednesday, but you're probably rostering them for both. The other teams that have only the Wednesday off night are Vegas, Boston, Calgary, Montreal, Edmonton, and Toronto. So you can also look at that as a potential option to go 1-game streams on Tuesday and on Wednesday. You can also look at, Anton Forsberg. Because LA has back-to-back, he's probably going to get the second start there on the Wednesday. And so if you're looking for an extra goalie stream, that's a guy who's definitely going to get a start there to open up the year. So that's another way you can do it. Use an ad and potentially get some goalie cats or some goalie points, depending on your format. Basically, this is just kind of a wait and see week mostly for me at this point. So yeah, do what you can, get some LA guys in there. But after that, like, you kind of just seeing what you have in your team, getting some early data on your players, and then use whatever ads you do have left on Sunday for week 2. That's kind of the way that I'm viewing this. This is not a week in which you're really going to be able to optimize your lineup a whole lot. And so just accept that for what it is. Go ahead and use those ads on Sunday and get yourself up for week 2. And Blake and I will have a full show about that before that Sunday, so you can figure out who you should be picking up then. All right, next up, we have Blake's hot takes. Blake sent these to me earlier today, and we got some spice here for sure. So up first, Chicago's power play finishes in the top 10, which they did last year, and Connor Bedard, Frank Nazar, and Sam Rinzel all have over 20 power play points. This one's pretty spicy. It's not the most spicy. When you add it all up together, like, you got to hit a 4-way parlay here, so that's a little bit spicy in that regard. But that's where we need to be. I give this one like a solid 6 out of 10. It's a solid hot take here, and of course I'm gonna rate his takes while he's not here to defend himself. So I can see this one for sure. I think the Chicago power play will be good again. I don't really see a reason to think that it will be, terrible. But top 10, I don't think that's the baseline expectation. I don't think that's the way I projected it. But I can definitely see this. If Sam Rinzel can really hang on to that top power play and be a difference maker on that top power play, if Frank Nazar can do the same in his role there, then that is a way that this could be a top 10 unit once again. And that would actually make Rinzel and Nazar pretty interesting players for fantasy purposes. Chicago has great off-night schedule once again. So definitely would be a scenario in which you could get some additional fantasy value out of those players. The second take here, Josh Norris misses less than 10 games, pops off to the tune of 30 goals, 65 points with over 100 hits, making him one of the premier sleepers this season. If you've followed any of Blake's content this year, you know that he is a big Josh Norris fan this year, and I'm here for it. He's been line one, power play one every single update we've gotten out of Buffalo, so it really does seem like they are going to just hand him the reins and let him play alongside Tage Thompson. That's a really good spot to be. So it is up to Josh Norris at this point, what he's able to do with that opportunity. And I'm not going to bet against him. He's done some good things in his career. If he can stay healthy, then I do think that this is a player who will make the most of the opportunity. The last one is the spiciest. Oh, I didn't give Josh Norris take a spicy meter. That one's probably a solid 7 out of 10. Yeah, he's got to be healthy and he's got to, meet this 65 point mark. That is probably on the higher end of what you might think is possible there, but I can definitely see it. So I'll give it a 7 out of 10. And then lastly here, Florida struggles out of the gate with all their injuries. They never fully get on track, miss the playoffs by 2 points despite a significant breakout season from Mackie Samoskevich in which he pops for 55 points. This is an all-time spicy take. You were talking about a team that has won back-to-back cups, has been to the Stanley Cup Finals 3 years in a row, and they're going to miss the playoffs this year. I know they're missing Barkov. I know they're missing Kachuk, but wow, this is a 10 out of 10 on the spicy meter. I love it. I mean, hot takes are hot takes for a reason, right? We love to hear it. Tell us in the comments. You can rake Blake over the coals for this one. Just know these are hot takes. These are, some bold predictions for what we think might happen. Hot takes, bold predictions, whatever you want to call it. We're throwing it out there, and we will not revisit this episode if our takes go poorly. But if it does come to fruition, obviously we're going to be like, wow, remember how smart we were back at the beginning of the season. Just having some fun here. All right, my hot takes are here. The first one is one I've been saying for a bit now, but I have Jason Robertson outscoring Mikko Rantanen on the season. That got a little bit more dicey today. There was a quote that Glenn Golitzin is thinking about playing Mikko Rantanen on both power play units. And yeah, that would definitely increase his possibility. That's his possibility of scoring a lot of points. I don't know if I'm really going to change my projections based on that too much. Coaches say a lot of things this time of year, and oftentimes they end up kind of going with the comfortable route. And so I don't really know how much stock to put into that, but the fact that he's even thinking about it is something, I guess I will say. I just have a lot of belief in Jason Robertson. I think he is a stud. I think he is in line. He's going to play with Rantanen, so a lot of their points will come together, line one and power play one together through most of the preseason here, including the most recent update. So I do think that they will feed off of each other a fair bit. But it's a hot take for sure. I don't think this is conventional wisdom, but that's the way I've got it, and that's the way I'm going to go down swinging. Number 2, Jackson Lacombe drops 60 points and becomes the fantasy breakout defenseman of the year. Massive block numbers to go along with the increased scoring. And he is the guy that emerges from that kind of mushy middle of defensemen in your drafts this year and becomes the guy that really elevates your squad. I love Jackson Lacombe. I think the microstats in particular just scream off the page. What he's able to do in Anaheim last year is just remarkable. Obviously, they pay him a huge deal, 8 years, $9 million. And I mean, if you've listened to the 32 Thoughts podcast with Elliot Friedman, he's been talking nonstop about how Verbeek, the general manager there, is just the toughest negotiator. And then Luke Hughes signs a 7x9 deal, and immediately Jackson Lacombe follows up with his own $9 million a year deal. And that's a hefty price to pay. It just speaks volumes about what they think about this guy and the fact that last year was a true breakout for him in terms of his impact on the ice. This year, I think we might get the fantasy relevance to boot. And lastly, Logan Cooley has a slow start with power play 2 deployment coming off the injury in camp, but then explodes for over a point per game pace from December onwards. I think Logan Cooley is one of the most exciting young players in the entire league, and I would be shocked if he doesn't have some stretches at least this year where everybody is saying, wow, Logan Cooley is a true star in the league. So I am all in on Logan Cooley. You get the Utah off nights. They're a great schedule. What's not to love? Let's all get some Logan Cooley on our rosters this season. All right. It's a quick one today, but if you have still made it here to the end of the episode, you should click the link in the description, join the Discord community, like, rate, review, subscribe, comment, whatever you can do from whatever platform you're getting this content on. It really does help us out, but that is going to be all that I've got for this episode. So hopefully it brought you some value, helped you get a little bit better at fantasy hockey today. Many thanks to Blake's brother Matt for supplying the music for the podcast. That's it, folks. Much love.